Hello, beautiful soul. Thank you so much for joining me again as we are real and raw and in the moment. As I shared in the previous video, I've been thinking about doing this for a while to share some of my thoughts and ideas on election stress and how to cope with it, how to maintain our mental health during this time. Not only that, but also relationships, interpersonal relationships. As I did share in the previous video last week, this election stress entered my life personally. And it has challenged me for sure, and it has caused me to really put my beliefs and my practices into practice, into real life, into the real world. And if that's happening for you, if you have family members or friends, people in your community that are different than you, which chances are you do, because as far as I understand, I'm not a political expert at all. I'm not at all. My understanding is it's about 50-50, throwing in some undecideds in there. That means that most of us will have people in our lives of differing opinions and differing political beliefs, which is always challenging. But in my 49 years of being on this earth, this is the most heightened it has ever been, that I've ever experienced, that I've ever observed. What I want to share with you right now is the idea that we have a tendency as humans to put each other into categories and to find separation. My thought on this is that it possibly comes from human evolution and sociology and anthropology, that we had to identify who our tribe was in order to actually survive and not be killed, and to actually find safety and find food and have shelter. So it makes sense to me from that aspect, from that standpoint, that we would need to designate us and them. I think it serves a purpose. I know it serves a purpose, and I know that it is nice to find like-minded people, to be in a group, to feel connected, to have community. And that is a basic human need that we all have. Every human has that. And also that probably goes back all the way to human sociology. What I've been exploring is wondering a lot about viewing that as us versus them, or me versus you, and how that affects how I feel, how that affects my stress level, and how that affects my mental health. So I'm not going to sit here and say necessarily that it's bad to have groups, and it's wrong, and it's not okay to be in a community of one kind or another. I'm not saying that at all. What I am posing to you and proposing and asking you to think about, something that I've thought a lot about, is when does the us versus them. When does that separation cause me stress and affects my mental health in a negative way? Some of you may be a lot more resilient emotionally than I am, which is totally fine and understandable. I tend to be extremely sensitive, so it's something that I do consider quite a bit. Esther Hicks talks about the idea that we have this need to lump people into groups, and her belief is that it's because it's more important to us as humans to be right. And so if we can find a group that we think is right and we associate ourselves with that group, then we are right. And it feeds something inside of us. So she says we would rather be right than to feel good. And when I first heard her say that, I was feeling a little defensive because I thought, really? It's so important for me to be right? And then I started to very quickly examine my life, and when I have a conflict with people close to me, especially my significant other, my husband, when we would get in a fight, how important it was for me to be right and to convince him and to win the argument. And I'm not a very combative person, but there was still this need in me to be right. And it was causing me to degrade my mental health. Then I started to really become aware of when that was happening. And it was happening here and there all throughout the day. When I was talking to someone, when I was thinking something, especially when you're in a conflict with someone. Just think about when you're in a conflict. It's really hard to find common ground and to get the other person to hear you because they're defending their way because they want to be right, and you're defending your way because you want to be right. What would happen if you were okay in what you believed and what you thought about that particular thing, and it didn't matter what the other person thought about it? You gave that up. It was not something that mattered to you enough to damage a relationship or to damage yourself and your mental health, your stress levels, your emotions, which all, if they're heightened for a long time, can affect your body, can become sickness, can become disease, which is what happened to me 4 years ago, which is why I'm now here sharing these things with you. I started to release my grip on needing to be right. And decided that it was most important for me to feel good, at peace, calm, in a space of love for myself and for the person I was having the conflict with, the people around me, and extending it to what's happening right now with the election, people that see differently than me, people that I don't understand how they could think the way that they do, but they do. Do I have the need so much that I have to be right in this political discourse right now that I'm allowing it to affect my health? So that's the question I want to challenge you with today. And it's okay if you don't like what Esther said, that we would rather be right than feel good. That's okay. We're all coming at this from a different place in our journeys. We all have different stories. I'm going to talk about that in another video because I think that's really important to understand also. So just think about that statement. I would rather be right than feel good. Think about it. Think about it as you go through your day. There's going to be a lot of opportunities right now for us to look at this statement in light of everything that's going on right now. And if it's really, really important for you to be right, and you don't feel like it's affecting your mental health, then I say go for it. This is for people that feel like there are things that they would like to be able to do to help give them better health right now, better mental health, lower stress levels, better relationships with themselves and with others. So that's the question for right now, for today, is would I rather be right than feel good?